Hey, it's December 1st. After today, there's only 30 more days left in 2020. And
Yay.
depending upon your opinion, that's either a good thing or a bad thing. But you are here at Litvak Leadership Live for this day. And I am here with my good friend, Dave Fosnight. Hello, Dave. How are you?
Good afternoon, sir. How are you?
I am doing well. Dave, for those of you that don't know him, is the CEO of Paraklese Technologies and Solvent Trapper. We're going to talk about both of these products in a little bit and what Dave does to help the military and law enforcement. So it's definitely an interesting day for today. So Dave, I got to ask you to start with, because Dave and I have known each other probably, it's got to be going on 12, 13 years, if not even longer.
I think longer.
Probably so. So Dave, when did you start first let me ask you, why don't you describe Paraklese Technologies for everyone so they understand what you do?
Well, I'm a licensed ammunition manufacturer, and I'm a licensed explosives manufacturer. People that hold those two licenses together, you could probably put in a single room. I think there's less than 50 of them.
Because you kind of broke up. What are the two licenses?
Ammunition manufacturing and explosives manufacturing.
Okay. And there's not a lot of
Legally,
people.
Yeah, there's not very many people. Probably 50 individuals in the country have both of those licenses.
Okay.
And I could make C4 if I wanted to, but the accounting for C4 is an absolute nightmare. If you're off by 1% when they audit you, they lead you out in chains. So I just prefer not to mess with it.
You don't want to be let out in chains. That is not good.
I don't want to be let out in chains.
So how did you get into this initially? Was this always an interest of yours your whole life, or did you see something at some point that said, I need to do something?
Well, I've been loading my own ammunition since I was 12.
Okay.
And then when I was 18, I ran off and joined the Army. I started out as an infantryman, then I was a scout, and then spent the rest of my 6-year career as a tanker. And as a tanker, you blow stuff up pretty much for a living. I mean, you work on the vehicle, you blow stuff up. You work on the vehicle, you blow stuff up. And that kind of gets in your blood after a while, and you look for an outlet for that. And so I just found a way that I can get paid to blow stuff up, and here I am.
Okay. So now on your website for Paraklese, it says Christian-owned and operated company. It was established with a vision to develop and improve the tools of the military and law enforcement. So let me ask you, the elephant in the room. Some people would say ammunition and Christians don't necessarily go together. What say you?
Well, the Bible talks about walking in love, and for the love of my fellow soldiers, I want to see as many of them come home safe as possible. You go down to the VA, there are heroes down there that have machines where their arms and legs should be. Well, if we can give them something that gets them back, I don't want to go start on endless wars, but I mean, if they find themselves in the sandbox, I want them to be able to do a good job and come back home. Politics aside, I don't think we ever should have been there to begin with, but that is what it is. They're there. We need to make sure they come home, get their job done, then come home in one piece. As far as Christianity and say law enforcement is concerned, how about introducing devices where you can apprehend a suspect and not kill him? Subdue him, be in horrific pain, but not any serious lasting injury. An hour later, except for the bruise, they would be able to walk around, ambulatory, walk, talk, whatever, and still be here amongst the living, not in a wheelchair.
So what would be an example of a tool or product like that?
Well, let's just say we make less lethal shotgun shells. That's where if you here somebody uses bean bags on somebody. They're not taking cornhole bags and throwing them at people. They're shooting them with
Okay.
something. We're the only people on the planet that make a practice beanbag round, and it's less than half the price of the duty round. So a police officer can practice a lot more, be a better shot, and they would be more inclined to pull that out rather than they would their sidearm, because if they practice with it, they're confident with it, they've checked all the boxes for liability, they're a little less inclined to reach for that 40 caliber or that 9 millimeter when they can reach for the less lethal and beat the snot out of somebody at a pretty good range, up to 100 feet away, and have no permanent injuries associated with it.
So would
And
that
that's the
be
star of the show in the upper corner there.
so would that be the
That's
training
the
side?
that's the training side. Okay, that round right there has the identical trajectory to a what's called a duty bag used for duty purposes. This one's not as well made, but it flies, has the exact same trajectory. So it puts holes in the paper or in the cardboard the exact same way that a $7 or $8 bullet would. That round right there, when a police agency can buy 3 or 4 times more, they're more inclined to practice with them.
So this gets packed up into the casing,
Mm-hmm.
and it just knocks people down.
Yeah, it muzzle velocity approximately 300 feet per second. A 37-gram projectile will fly and deliver about 100 foot-pounds of energy. That's similar to a right hook from a young Mike Tyson.
Young Mike, yes, as opposed to the old Mike Tyson. Those of us who watched the fight the other day got to observe. So
Yeah,
so
well, he's still running 90. He's still running 90 foot-pounds, but I mean, young Mike would throw 100-pound punches.
so now, what is a fore-end rail mount?
Well, that's something we actually need to end up taking off the website because we discontinued those with the influx of imported stuff from the Middle East or the Far East, actually. But that's something that you could, a relatively low cost item that you could put on your gun for anybody, a police officer or a citizen, to be able to see what they're shooting at night. You don't want to accidentally shoot the neighbor's kid who, comes into your house drunk.
No.
So, that's something that you can see plainly who it is. And then it also, if it is somebody that you have to engage, then you can do it with a fair amount of confidence as opposed to literally. I mean, there is a term shooting in the dark for a reason. And these devices, relatively speaking, were a lot less costly than some of our competitors at the time. They were charging $300, $400, $500 for a weapon light, and we could say, take your own flashlight, and $41 later, you got a weapon light. But they use your own flashlight, and we did very well with it until the import market. They were selling it for less than what I could buy the parts for on eBay, so we got out of that market.
So what? This sounds like a real passion of yours. Tell us about that.
Well, there was an instance where 2 armed robbers were walking down the middle of the road in LA about, I want to say 2000, 2001. They had Kevlar armor on from head to toe. They had machine guns, and the police had their 9 millimeters and their literally 60-year-old Ithaca 37 shotguns, literally designed in 1937. And the buckshot and the bullets was just bouncing off of these guys. They were walking down the middle of the street, shooting anything that moved. And it took most of the LAPD and some, for lack of better words, lucky shots to subdue these guys. And there was one photograph of a police officer. He had thug number 2 on the ground, had his foot on thug number 2's chest. The ambulances wouldn't come in because they had heard there was a third machine gun thug, and they frankly didn't want to get hijacked and killed themselves.
Right.
And so This guy was immobile out in the open. If there was thug number three, I mean, he was literally a sitting duck out in the middle of the street, standing still with his back turned to the area that the possible thug number three was. And there was a picture of his that got plastered all over newspapers here in the country. Of course, that's back when we still had newspapers. And thug number two's next of kin sued that police officer.
Wow.
Okay. It ended his marriage. It ended his career. He ended up an alcoholic, drunk, homeless because of it. It's like, that shouldn't have happened. Surely something we could do in a situation like that. Now, are there bad cops? Absolutely. I'm suing some bad cops right now myself. I know about bad cops, but the majority of them are good people. And
Right.
you want to be able to provide them with something that helps them, give them options. In some places it's literally billy club, pepper spray, or pistol.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, or taser, but a taser only reaches 21 feet. The taser shotgun shell reaches about 30 feet, but they're also $100 every time you pull the trigger. So there has to be something.
Yeah, that
Okay,
gets
and that additional something is stuff that we try to come up with: the rubber projectiles, the rubber buckshot, the bean bags. We offer 3 different flavors of bean bags. We're the only company in the world that makes a practice door breaching round for entry teams, etc. So that's something. And then I only have to go to the VA to see my friends. Standing there, and he's got what appears to be springs from a chisel plow where his foot and lower leg should be, to say, well, maybe we could do something for them too.
wow. So are you saying that you not only work with, active law enforcement, but then you're also working with the VA to create things for the veterans?
Well, no, it's just I'm a vet, and I know that I'm not doing anything official, but it's I do trade shows, a lot of trade shows, and I see vets, and they come back and they may or may not have a prosthetic where an appendage should be, and these people, as far as I'm concerned, are rock stars. They should wait and want for nothing.
Right.
And until recently, the VA has been little more than a pill mill. And you come in and they say, "Well, take these." Well, then this opiate ends up making an addict out of them, and then they don't understand why they're an addict. Well, you gave them opiates for pain rather than getting them on some sort of surgery or regimen that would rehabilitate them to where they aren't in pain anymore.
Right.
Uh, and so that's just something for me. I see my brothers in arms coming back in pieces or coming back in a box, and that's hard for me. May not be hard for other people, but it's hard for me.
So in the industry in which you're in, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
what do you think is something that is very helpful for the military or for law enforcement to help keep them safe, yet allow them to do their job efficiently and effectively?
Well, obviously, education on de-escalation. There's some instances where if somebody's drunk out of their gourd but not hurting anybody, there's one instance in Alabama, I think it was Huntsville, Alabama, the chief had a protocol that said, if it's a situation like that, rather than escalating, rather than trying to take a gun away from a drunk redneck, maybe we should just leave and say, "Here's our business card. Call us when you get sober." And
Yeah.
when they did that, the guy called back and was extremely embarrassed that he'd done that. And he said, "Well, come down." And so they charged him with some little misdemeanor and got him in front of a judge. And the judge said, "How about some mandatory counseling?"
Mm-hmm.
And so the guy doesn't wave his 12 gauge around on his porch when he's drunk anymore.
Yeah, that's a good plan.
Just little things like that. And if you have to throw a punch, you want it to hit hard enough to disable your brain can say leg move all at once, but the leg isn't doing anything, but yet not so hard. And there's a fairly small window in there where you can hit somebody hard enough that they can't do anything, but yet you don't hit them so hard that it maims them or kills them.
Okay. That
Okay, and so
makes
that window of energy starts out at about 100 foot-pounds and goes up to about 150 to 200. Anything over about 200 foot-pounds of energy, unless it's over a very wide area, is going to go in you.
Oh yeah.
Want that? We don't want that. We want it to bounce off. If it scratches you up pretty bad, oh well, you'll be really sore for a few days, but you'll be alive. The police officer will be alive, and
So, who inspires you?
you mean other than the full owner of the corporation? I'm a part owner. My wife is a part owner, and this elderly Jewish gentleman happens to be a majority owner. Elohim and Sons.
Exactly.
My wife inspires me because they actually conducted a study here in Floyd County, and they found out that 40% of all the common sense in all of Floyd County put together happened to be with this woman.
That's good.
She is one of the wisest and most diplomatic human beings I've ever met. And so she's an inspiration on a regular basis. And then, I'm a man of prayer. Remington took $1 million in a year to be able to develop a product. Well, I'm not kidding when I say this. I've got a notebook beside my bed. I ask for new product development ideas. I get them. I have a dream. I wake up. I write down what I saw in the dream. I go to the shop. I chuck some plastic or some metal up in the lathe in a mill and cut on it until it looks like what I saw in the dream. I load it in a shell and fire it, and it works. I spend 4 weeks and $100. Okay, that's my two main sources of motivation.
So
I got a hot woman and a kind guy, and I got a blue piece of paper that says I can blow stuff up for a living. So I mean, it's pretty good for me.
So what kind of training do you advocate for someone wanting to get into this field?
Well, they've got to be a firearms enthusiast for starters, because if you're not, I have to ask, why are you here? Number two, start loading your own shells. I mean, you can get into the game of reloading for, well, it's higher now because of the political scene, but back before March, you could get into reloading for $300 US to manufacture your own shells. And the other part would be, as far as blowing stuff up is concerned, there's plenty of formulae out on the internet. There's tables and calculations you have to go through. You don't use 50 pounds of ammonium nitrate to move a stump.
Right. Well,
there's math that's involved, and so keep up on your make sure that you graduated from high school algebra. I think about first year, say a second semester high school algebra is what I still use to this day. And then just learn the tables and learn the capabilities of the chemicals, and have a healthy respect, because you are playing with explosives or propellants that do shove things at 50,000 pounds per square inch and at 5,000 degrees Fahrenheit. So you want to have a certain amount of respect for these things. I'm the only demolitionist that I know that's nearly 60 now, and I have both of my eyes and I have all of my fingers.
So do you take on individuals to mentor them in your business?
I never have, but I could. I mean, nobody's ever come to me and said, "Learn me loading," but I suppose that I could. But I mean, come on, Sean. This is Southern Indiana. I mean, come on.
It's possible. It's
Yeah,
I mean,
do it.
So okay, so what is your vision? Eventually, as you hear people say on the radio, eventually I'm going to retire. So what is your vision for the business as you move forward? Because one day you're going to want to either sell it or pass it on or train someone up. Where would you like to get it to?
Well, my oldest son, Brad Berry, I think you met Brad at least once or twice. I think he came to church a time or two. He's actually my shop manager. My daughter-in-law is my day shift manager. My oldest daughter is my bookkeeper. And my grandson works for me.
Okay.
So it is a family affair, and I've already been informed in no uncertain terms that when I get too old to do this for a living, that my son is foreclosing on the business, and he will run it. And he thinks that some things I do the way it is great, and there's other things that he thinks that I should do it a different way. And that's one of the first things he'll implement when the company is actually in his hands. But it's Paraklese Technologies. There's other things that I want to do. Have just been limited by cash because it takes a lot of money to sue the federal government. To be able to branch out, there's other machines that I want to develop. There's needs that I see out there, drastic needs, big needs, not necessarily in police and law enforcement, although, there's plenty out there too. There's just things with like garbage pickup. There's a more efficient way to do garbage pickup, but I don't have the money right now for the machinery to be able to do that. But once I get a favorable judgment on my part from the government, then I'll be able to devote more time to that, more energy to that.
So what kind of changes has your son suggested for the business that you're thoughtfully considering?
I've rejected them all out of hand, actually. So
I was giving you an entree there, okay?
yeah, no, seriously. He thinks we could do better on packaging,
Okay.
to brand it more goodly, better for us, for lack of better words. But you're looking at an expense, probably 3 months worth of profitability to get the packaging to where he would want for it to be for all the different calibers and munitions that we have. We run 83 SKUs, so getting a custom box for each one of those 83 for one pack size, say 5 round box, and then a 25 round box. Remington does the same sort of thing, but they have a $300 million budget.
Mhm.
We're going to break 2 million this year, so
Wow.
they're a little bit bigger than we are, and so they have a little bit bigger cash flow. The other thing is that I have no business loans. I operate, if my debit card can buy it, I buy it. I'm debt free. And if my debit card can't buy it, then we don't buy it then. So that puts me in a little bit of a different situation. I'm sure I could take out American Express sends me business loan applications. Hey, you can get this up to $100,000 from us with simply a few keystrokes and a signature. They do that sort of thing to me on a routine basis, but it's like, no, if I can't write a check for it, I'm not going to do it.
Okay.
But the packaging, and I can see the value in it. It's just like, but I don't have that kind of spare cash right now, especially in this environment where there's a crunch on availability of components. If I find components someplace, I'll pick on gunpowder, for instance. We run through about 20 pounds of gunpowder a week. Without that, I send people home.
You go through how much gunpowder a week?
20 pounds.
20 pounds.
20 pounds.
Is that a
And
lot?
that's 700 grains to a pound, and we run about 30 grains per projectile.
Okay.
Okay, so I can get about, what is it, on the math on that? That's about, what, 250 per pound.
Mm-hmm.
But if we don't have that, and there's 100 different kinds of powder, and if we don't have the ones that our formulas are tuned to, specifically something like a company by the name of Lion Corporation, they have a gunpowder called Blue Dot. If we can't buy that particular powder, they make 30 different powders, 20 different
Okay.
powder companies. If I can't get that particular powder, then the performance of my ammunition suffers. So I have to have Blue Dot powder for that particular application. I don't get it, I don't build that bullet. So I have to be able to track down those components. Buckshot has been a hard thing for us. We've ended up casting our own buckshot because we can't buy it on the open market. It's completely being absorbed, taken up, bought by everybody else due to the current
Well,
situation.
and it seems like you used to be able to go to the grocery store or to Bass Pro and buy ammunition, and those resources no longer have any kind of ammunition. When do you think that people will calm down enough that ammunition will be readily available again?
Well, I was present for the 2004 panic when the public thought John Kerry was going to get elected. For 2008 with Obama, 2012 with Obama, and Hillary, it wasn't so bad, but there was a bump, and now this bump, from the COVID to the election to the present unrest. I would like to think that by perhaps June of next year, things will slow down a little bit.
Okay. It's interesting because if anyone goes to any kind of gun shop, from
Uh-huh.
day to day, you're not really sure if they're going to have ammunition.
Uh-huh.
Which, if you're a shooting enthusiast, that certainly puts a crimp in what you enjoy.
Yeah, he said crimp. Yes, because the crimp is what we actually do to the top of the shotgun shell to keep all the guts out.
You caught my joke. Very
Yeah,
nice.
yeah, I did. Good pun there. Well, that's why some people take up reloading, is because you can buy a bag of wads for $6. You can buy a 25-pound bag of shot at Pro Bass for $40. You have your hulls. Shotgun primers are still readily available. There's a variety of powders if you're just looking to kill the clay pigeons. There's a variety of powders that work on that. Now our stuff has literally been with truck drivers in Afghanistan. Our stuff has literally been on rivers in Alaska to help dissuade the local bear population from claiming a salmon
Oh, wow.
caught by a fisherman. Okay, so I mean, we make ammunition for for with the Dragon's Breath as an entertainment round, but I literally have had my buckshot in Afghanistan. There was a truck driver there, and his corporation wouldn't let him have a machine gun, but he could have a shotgun. So he took my ammunition over to Afghanistan with him.
So now your ammunition, is it something that you sell to individuals, or is it just to law enforcement and the military?
We can, well, Sean, $30 gets you this shirt. Okay, everything but my wife and kids is for sale. And catch me on a bad day, I'll sell you my kids. But yeah, we sell the websites. Have got retail ammunition. You want to buy it? It's right on there. I mean, you're a couple clicks and a couple keystrokes away from having good personal protection ammunition, or having ammunition that after you shoot it, say, man, that was fun. Then we should have bought some more. So
if someone is thinking about, I want to get into learning about guns and learn how to shoot, where do you recommend that they start?
Actually, believe it or not, Facebook has a lot of different forums. I'm on several of those different forums, like the 6.5 millimeter Grendel loading forum, GRENDEL. There's a lot of guys that hand load for that particular caliber, and it's a fun gun to shoot. It's extremely accurate. Components aren't that costly. Incredibly accurate, very long reach. The bullets of that particular 6.5 millimeter, 264 thousandths diameter, are incredibly slippery.
Mm.
They cut the wind very well, better than 30 caliber, better than 277 diameters, better than the 250s. They're, for lack of better words, they're just slippery in the air, and that's something that you want, because the more drag you have, the faster the bullet's going to drop.
Okay. So we've shockingly made it to almost 29 minutes already. It goes by so quick.
It does. I was pleasantly surprised.
But as we're winding down to the final couple minutes, and people are going to be watching this on replay. And when they get to this point, what words of wisdom do you want to leave them with to remember you by? What kind of impression or encouragement do you want to give them?
That's a good question. Never thought of that. What do I want people to remember me by? Well, I guess you could say if he wasn't wrapped too tight, but he was all right. His heart was in the right place. Me personally, that's what I would like to be able to say of me, of my corporation. We are looking at a 4 to 5 week turn time, so we get it built. It's gonna, we are that hammered with orders. That's basically, I love God, I love my country, I love my wife. And I think that 99% of the problems of this planet can be solved are a failure to love. If you rob somebody, you're not loving your fellow man. If you abuse your own body, you're not loving yourself. If you lie, you're not loving God. So you can put that rather neatly into one of three places there. And Jesus said the greatest command of all was love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength, and love your neighbor like yourself.
Yep.
And then we have the moot commandment, which is don't eat stuff that's been sacrificed to to foreign gods, and then be chaste until you're married. I mean, those are, I talked to my Israeli friends, and they said, "Well, you're a Noahide." I don't even know what that is.
Neither do I.
Okay. But apparently there's some people that say the 613 laws are all well and good, but we're just going to look at these few here and pretty much cover the 613. It's just in a different application. And so, that's advice for living. Love God, love your neighbor, love yourself.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being my guest today, Dave.
It wasn't half as scary as what I thought it was.
See, and it's always fun talking with you because it's a lively conversation. And at times I wonder, all right, where's he going with this? And it's always a good place. It's never a bad place. So,
okay.
Thank you very much for being on the show
today, sir.
And ladies and gentlemen, that was Litvak Leadership Live for today. We'll be back tomorrow at 3 p.m. with another guest. And, every day here is a different day. So be blessed and enjoy the balance of the day. Bye now.